I call the darkness unto me, from deepest depths of earth and sea, from ancient evils unawoken, break the one that can't be broken. To blackest night I pledge my soul and crush my heart to burning coal, to summon forth a deathly power, to see my hated foe devoured. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Jacob Wile, too.
And welcome to a long-awaited recap podcast on the Battle for Mewni event, which kicked off Star versus the Forces of Evil Season 3 here on Tiki's Universe.
Yay.
All right, folks, so this has been a long time coming. We've been juggling a lot of things here on Tiki's Universe. I still haven't... Jacob, to be honest with you, since the Welcome to the Wayne thing isn't on the channel yet, I think we might just want to redo the first Welcome to the Wayne podcast just for, just for shits and giggles, because the first one didn't really turn out that well. So we're still planning on doing Welcome to the Wayne, but of course we just got done with DuckTales, waiting for that to come back around in September. Rick and Morty is airing every week. Thank God. That's nice to have something that's actually consistent. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about something much in the same vein as DuckTales. We got, at least with this, like DuckTales gave us 45 minutes. This gave us about an hour and a half's worth of content. So, it's something. It's something. So we're talking, like I said, the Battle for Mewni, which encompasses episodes, basically, depending on how you break it up, either episodes 1 through 4 or episodes 1 through 7. That would be, just really quick, we'll be talking about the battle, Return to Mewni, Moon the Undaunted, Book Be Gone, Marco and the King, Puddle Defender, King Ludo, and of course, Toffee. All right, folks, yes. So we're going to try and make this as brisk of a conversation as we can, because obviously there's going to be a lot of episodes to go over. We don't usually talk about this many episodes in a row. It's more or less talking about like a Steven bomb in Steven Universe terminology. So, Jacob, I'll just ask you right now, what do you think of this arc as a whole?
Well, it was like, it definitely lived up to what they were having it up to be. It's like, especially after the cliffhanger season 2 left us, this definitely built up from it. It definitely added to it in a very interesting way and brings up all very interesting ideas for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I think this the thing that I like the most about this arc is that every episode feels like distinctly its own flavor, and I think there's a lot of world building that's gone on in seasons 1 and 2 that I think we're going to really get to explore come season 3, especially going into the episodes after this, because this was kind of like a wrap up to the Toffee stuff for the most part. Who knows if he's going to be around anymore after this, but I feel like that kind of opens up, like Toffee's sort of out of the picture, Ludo's out of the picture, and now like God knows where we go. I think the only hint we have is Queen Eclipsa. So speaking of which, Jacob, let's go from the end to the beginning. Let's start with Return to Mewni. What do you think of this episode?
What an interesting way to kick off the arc. We see the repercussions of we see Marco holding up keeping the decorations for Star's return.
I really love the cold open with Marco. It's honestly one of my favorite scenes in the whole arc, just because it's such a good continuation of the cliffhanger from the last episode.
Yeah, who knows how long it's been? Probably like a couple days, or a day or so.
Mm-hmm. And I love the sad Spanish opera music that he's playing on the radio. And I also love the sad teen hotline that Mr. Diaz tries to call.
It's like sad, but it's also kind of funny in a way.
Yeah,
it's like we don't want to start off too depressing.
No. And then of course we transition that Star's watching Marco, and she's like, the cereal's behind the counter, Diaz. Come on, don't be such an idiot.
Like, why do you have to be such a cute idiot?
And then we get into the meat of the episode, and I think this episode is kind of like, in some ways it's sort of an exposition dump in a way, where we get just a lot of kind of big reveals. I remember watching it for the first time, and I was just like messaging you like every 2 minutes, like, oh my God, this happened. Oh my God, this happened. It's fine on its own. It's really just kind of a getting from point A to point B episode, like getting Star and Moon to the safe house and sort of establishing where we are. But of course, Moon and Star have a good dynamic this episode.
That's the main reason why I like this episode. It's like the most they've ever interacted, and it's in a dire situation for both of them. Like we really get to see like things are very tense between them, and are really like we get a lot of like relationship building between these two. It's like she reveals like Star like. It's always been like Star's always we always seen of her. Like Star's always like she like always holds her in disregard. You know that's how we always seen her. But she always thought of her as a cool warrior mom as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that. It's like even though she thought of her as like an overbearing, she thought highly of her. Even though Moon reveals like that's not exactly the case, as we find out.
Which is a great kind of like lead into the to episode 2, which I think is my favorite out of all these out of all 7 of the episodes that we get. But we'll get to that very soon. Of course, we get to the safe house. We have some shenanigans with the I'm sorry, the council, right? Like I forget exactly what they're
High Commission.
The High Commission, right, of course. We get some shenanigans with them as like just balloon bodies, essentially.
Except for Lekmet.
Yes. I like how that death is addressed as well. Like Moon at first doesn't want to tell Star about him, and she says like, "Oh, we'll meet him at the safe house." And then there is no Lekman at the safe house because there is no Lekman.
Well, yeah, rest in peace, Lekmet.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace, my goat friend.
So yeah, I guess the episode kind of just ends with the big reveals. Mostly, A, Toffee killed Moon's mother, and B, Moon struck a deal with Eclipsa, and Eclipsa's still alive. Da da da.
Boom.
Oh yeah, I mean that is a mic drop moment for the first episode. All right, then let's get into, as I said,
it's almost like this Queen of Darkness that we've been hyping up these last few years. She's still alive.
Mm-hmm. So as we said, episode 2, Moon the Undaunted. This is my favorite out of the 7, Jacob. I really love this episode. This is a treat.
Oh yeah, like especially Young River and Moon. They're just so cute together.
It's just adorable. It's just freaking adorable. Queen Moon, I brought you some apology meat. It's how we Johanssons apologize. I'm sorry for speaking out of line.
And just like shows like it really just shows like even when they were younger, he was the only one to truly believe in her, like ask her what she thinks rather than trying to make her decisions for her.
Right, and I like how in this episode we get a bit of that love triangle with Mildrew, right?
I thought Mildrew was like a cousin or a part of the family or something.
He could be, but the way I took it was Mildrew was kind of like a romantic rival, and we get some hints of that where, he's taken the chair out for Moon, and then Moon kind of like takes the chair back, like pushes the chair back, and then most importantly, we get the line from Moon like, I can't even decide what boy I like, which was kind of the main indicator that sort of like, she's between River and this other guy. That's just how I took it. I don't know.
Maybe we'll see more of them, more of the past eventually.
I could see Mildrew being a character who kind of comes back in older form, as kind of like a rival to River. That'd be fun.
I think it's revealed that he died in the Game of Flags. I don't remember.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, God.
I mean, I don't know.
Right. I think you're right. I think you're right.
I remember being mentioned in Game of Flags.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't remember.
Of course, I like how...
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
That's fine. I like how this episode takes a really somber tone because, of course, it's right after the death of Moon's mother. And of course, it's all about kind of like Moon struggling to come to terms with it as this war between the humans and the monsters is going on, and Moo's kind of put into an impossible position. Like, that's all very kind of like, even though it's a ridiculous kind of like out there universe, it's a very real world sort of dilemma. You know what I mean?
It's like inheriting the throne after after the queen's death. I mean, like, that's something that's several monarchs have gone through in real life, and it's kind of drove some of them insane.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking less about monarchy, and I'm thinking just about the fact, you know, like, when a loved one dies, you have to like make funeral arrangements, you have to cover their expenses. You know what I mean? It's like
that's kind of what I was referring to. It's like she had to do all that on top of accepting the kingdom.
I'm just saying, like, everyone goes through that, not just monarchy.
I know. I'm just saying, it's like in addition to that, she has to deal with all this. Like, she's giving him. She's only a teenager, like probably Star's age, given the impossible. She had probably. I don't know. It's not known if she actually watched her die or just learned news that she died, or I don't think that it's not really important. But like, she learned that her mother died, and she had to take got this massive responsibility thrust upon her. Like, she said she was just like Star before that happened.
Right.
So that means, like, imagine, like, this is like Star, and this responsibility, like, her life was never the same after that.
Yeah.
And it actually explains why she is the way she is.
Yeah, it does.
Nowadays.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, with I love Glossaric in this episode. He's just like super depressed over the queen. Like, it's kind of like, it's funny but also sad at the same time. You know, it's like you feel bad for Glossaric, but he's just kind of being over the top about it.
It's like he's like crying more than anyone else.
Right. Let's see. And then, of course, we get into the Eclipsa stuff with the episode where Eclipsa kind of like whispers a spell to Moon, and Omnitrix freezes Eclipsa back up before they can kind of seal the deal on it. So, yeah, very interesting stuff there. What do you think of the Eclipsa scenes?
Well, it's pretty interesting to see that. It was like how Romulus was very, very weary about letting her free. Most likely for very good reason.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Moon was even able to convince him to do that for the short amount of time that he did.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering what we've heard of her.
Right. And I like the whole bit like where it's like, oh, the forbidden chapter or the evil chapter or whatever. Is that what they're calling it? Yeah, sorry, I didn't name it.
Yeah. It's like she comes off as kind of like this, like, sweet, and kind of like comes off as like almost sweet in a way, like I won my candy bar.
Almost kind of like grandmotherly. And speaking of which, Jacob, in addition to corn, apparently vending machines are a big fixture of Mewni history. I don't know. Like, this vending machine motif, I don't remember seeing so many vending machines in other episodes. Perhaps they've been here the whole time and I just haven't noticed.
I didn't notice either. Like, this is like the cream, like the corn, the corn.
Corn! It's all about the corn! Anyways.
Yeah, the corn vending machine, and now this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
But then we also see, that also reveals Eclipsa's arm.
Oh God, that was nasty.
Yeah, it's like
all frostbitten and whatnot.
Dabbled in dark magic a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then the spell we made for the spell that she apparently gave to Moon to defeat the immortal monster, which is Toffee, which is the spell that Tiki said at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and this is a great scene where Moon goes to confront Toffee.
Yeah, it's like she just like strolls in there like it's nobody's, like it
starts eating the apology meat.
Yeah, like he just sits there like it's like she owns the place. They're like, I want to speak to the general. Then she learns his name, Toffee. How is that any better?
Never mind. So, of course, the return of the great Michael C. Hall as Toffee here is just as intimidating as ever. And I really like the note that... I'm sorry, I really... No, hold on. Okay. I really like the note that we leave with the whole, like, you know, even if just his finger is gone, that's still a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, I love the origin of the finger and how that was like such a pivotal part of Toffee's backstory that we got to see here.
Like, it's like the one time he couldn't regenerate. That's like shown that the proof that Toffee is vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like how like calmly intimidating he is.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he doesn't raise his voice, he doesn't yell, he doesn't scream at all, but you can just feel the terror oozing out of his voice. Not well, you know, coming, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
The evil, slimy nature of his voice.
And of course, in the end, Moon and River kind of, you know, have a happy little moment together, and Moon kind of declares, you know, like, look, I'm the queen, and we're going to take these people down my way, whether you like it or not. So good character stuff for Moon right there, all the way around. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and that leads us to episode 3, Book Be Gone.
The title's kind of spoilery, if you ask me.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I can see that. Well, at least it's not Glossaric dies.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Spoiler alert, yes. So, Jacob, Glossaric dies.
Glossaric dead.
Oh my god!
Or is he?
Yeah, it's a big if. Anyways, yeah, this episode, it's pretty decent. It's a kind of a Ludo and Glossaric two-man show going on here. I really like, probably one of my favorite gags in the whole 7 episodes we get is like the big what?
Is it the pudding?
Well, yes, the pudding's a good runner in the episode, yes, but the bit specifically I'm thinking of is where Ludo gets distracted and he goes to that, you know, he goes to that lagoon and is just having a great time, and he's like, I, for the life of me, could not even remember how I got here. And then they all just start cracking up like, and then Ludo remembers. He's like, that stupid book. Okay, let's just give it up to Alan Tudyk for his vocal delivery as Ludo's like, you know, going back. You know, he's like, you know, I can't do it justice. I can't do it justice. It's hilarious.
Alan Tudyk, you're a vocal genius.
He is. I don't know. That guy might be like, well, Jim Cummings is retiring soon. I'm sorry. I don't know why I just like made Alan Tudyk's like natural speaking voice Ludo. Anyways.
That's the funny thing. I don't even know what he's done so many voices. I don't even know what he naturally sounds like.
I know. I'm kind of the same way. I assume he's just like a default British accent voice. I don't know.
the only really natural voice I've ever heard him do is Alistair Craig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. You're right. That was the one where it wasn't very over the top or cartoony.
They said that probably that could be his natural voice. I don't know. I've never heard him speak elsewhere, or maybe K2SO. I don't know.
K2SO could be pretty close. Anyways,
and heck, even then, sorry, this is kind of off subject, but even Cray and K2SO sound a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So
right, yes, no, it's fine.
He does great as Ludo. Like he does great as Ludo, especially in the heart where he's talking heartfelt to the book.
Which is a ridiculous scene, but it's still like your heart kind of goes out to him at the same time.
Yeah, because you understand where he comes from. Like,
all right,
like,
I'm just going to say it. I love you, book. I do. God.
Like And so you kind of do feel for the guy, especially considering previous episodes and the upcoming episodes too.
Oh yeah.
Like you understand like where he's coming from and all that. Like you actually feel sorry for him in a way.
And of course, the whole time in this episode, we're building the mystery of like the last time we saw Glossaric was when, when Toffee kind of, when Toffee possessed Ludo. So Toffee knows that Glossaric knows that Ludo is possessed by Toffee and no longer controls the book. And, Ludo for like the first half of the episode just won't listen to him at all.
Yeah.
Until he has to like go take that like long trek back that he's like, so what were you saying about me no longer being the owner of the book? Well, yeah,
like
that's just like, it. You're not.
It's kind of like at that point you think he like ready to blow his top.
Right.
Even more.
Okay, so I guess the only other thing to get into is, of course, besides the Toffee possessing Ludo once again, and like Glossaric being very casual about it as he always is. Of course, we have to talk about the pudding ball.
Like the entire time, Glossaric is just trying to do this thing with the pudding.
He's trying he's trying to roast a ball of pudding as you would a marshmallow.
And it's like something that seems almost futile, but as the image shows, apparently he gets it to work.
He gets it to work right before his implied death.
Yes.
And his death is like, even though I doubt this is like, I doubt he's going to stay gone, but his death was pretty effective. He's like, it almost kind of reminded me of the Ancient One from Doctor Strange. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Doctor Strange, sorry. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, wow, I have to admit, even though I knew this was coming.
It surprises me.
Yeah, it still surprises me. Yeah. I'm like, that's kind of a nice sort of profound line for Glossaric to go out on.
I mean, especially after considering this episode, he was kind of being a jerk.
He was very, very passive aggressive. Yes.
I mean, Ludo did call him out on that, which is when he wasn't exactly wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jacob,
I will admit though that even though he was a bit of a jerk, it is kind of sad to see Glossaric burn up, especially considering he finally got his pudding right.
Right. Okay, and that leads into Marco and the King, which this might be the most ridiculous moment of the whole 7 episodes right here.
Yeah, I mean, like this episode really doesn't feel like it doesn't really connect with the rest of the episodes, and if you ask me, but it still really works.
I mean, to me, the only reason we really need the episode is for 2 reasons. We need to get Ludo to, I'm sorry, I guess the Ludo stuff happens later, but I guess the only real thing that we need is for Marco to, to come into the plot. That's really the main focus of the episode. And I like how one of the things I will applaud about this miniseries is that we save whatever it is, the arc, is that we save Marco and Star reuniting for the, towards the end of the last episode. I thought that was a very smart choice on the writer's part to kind of show that the two could really, what?
I agree.
Yeah, to kind of show how it shows how the characters can really stand on their own. Like these 2 characters have both gotten a lot of development. And I think the episode that really solidified that for me, Jacob, is the episode towards the end of last season with Hekapoo. God, remind me what it was. It was, it was the one where Marco's like chasing Hekapoo and he gets trapped in that dimension for like decades. And he's like you know what I mean?
I forget the name of the episode.
I know, I'm forgetting. I'm like blanking on the name of the episode too. I feel dumb about that because I really love that episode. But that, like I said, that was the episode that kind of started like Marco and Star having their own individual arcs. And as I said, I think it's smart that they kind of carried it over here. And the King and Marco,
and I said, another thing I like about it is like it shows like we've never actually seen the King and King and Marco actually interact with each other, by themselves. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Usually when they do that, they've had Star with them. Plus, it also shows like how he's reacting to the whole thing about his wife, about Queen Moon being gone. He's basically trying to convince himself that he's handling it well.
Yeah, which he's just clearly not, as this picture indicates.
Yeah. He parties for several days straight and realizes his kingdom's pretty much gone to pot.
Yeah, the kingdom is just like, there's just a giant monster just out in the field, a building's on fire. Oh, a good building needs to burn every once in a while, so we can have room to build a new one.
Yeah, and it takes a lot for them the people of Mewni pretty much lost their trust in him by that point.
Of course, I love the gag with the monster where, like River's kind of trying to motion the monster to go away, but then the monster, like, goes up to the king. Yes?
It's like,
I thought you said come here. Oh, no. I said go away. What a waste of an afternoon.
He's like, what a waste of my day.
Oh,
man. That was a really well-spoken, eloquent giant monster.
Right.
Probably the easiest monster fight ever in this show.
All things considered, yeah. So yeah, it's fine. I will agree with you that this is kind of a less substantial episode compared to some of the other ones, but like I said, the biggest thing this episode accomplishes is the Marco and River dynamic, which we haven't seen solo yet. So, a good kind of character pairing episode at least.
Yeah, and also all seems well at the end of the episode. They're all cheering that the monster's been driven away. And then it closes with Ludo and the rest taking over.
Good cliffhanger, yep. Which leads
us... It's like the entire episode is like that, and then suddenly Ludo's there. I mean, like, it's like, that came out of nowhere.
I'll agree, it is kind of abrupt. Okay,
but I mean, that makes it that much more surprising, if you ask me.
Yeah, and that leads us to episode 5, Puddle Defender. I really like this one, too. I thought this one had some good social commentary going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll put up through a board game, no less.
Right. So yeah, of course, the main premise of this is that Star and Moon need another place to hide out, and Star suggests they go to Buff Frog. We love Buff Frog.
Yes, Buff Frog is good.
It is little babies, including little Katrina.
Who apparently knows how to talk.
Yes. I just love how Star is just like over the moon about the babies. Just, hey, Buff Frog, where them babies at?
They are cute.
Oh, you have itty bitty baby arms. All except for little Katrina. She is a slow bloomer.
She's the only one that knows how to talk.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know.
And of course, the main social commentary here is a really good one. The whole, Moon being prejudiced against monsters and, not all monsters are bad. Like, look, I mean, it's not like some Zootopia level shit or anything like that. You know what I mean? But it's a nice sort of bit of social commentary. Like Moon gets over a prejudice because they're both caring parents. Of course, I love the scene.
You can pretty much say the same thing about Buff Frog because he pretty much had the same prejudice too as well.
Well, that's true.
I mean, it's basically like saying like they have different perspectives because of the way they were raised, like that, just like regular society. But then you realize it's kind of the moment in the episode that really kicks it off was like when he agreed to help Star escape so he could go stop Toffee. He's like, Toffee's inside Ludo's body. That's creepy. But when he agrees to help, when he actually stops Star in her tracks, yeah. Is everything okay? Hello?
Yeah. Hey, sorry about that. My mic unplugged. Anyways, my bad. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah, but did you hear what I was saying?
Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
It's like Moon, it's like Star wasn't really understanding why Moon wanted to go when it didn't want to go save the kingdom, without realizing that it's because of her that she doesn't want to save it. Like she's more important to her.
I mean, yeah, but it is very emotional, like choosing between your husband and your daughter. I mean, of course, I think every mother would probably choose their kid at the end of the day, but that's a tough choice.
She said you could pretty tell she was like devastated to leave River by himself.
Sure.
It's like that's clearly something she didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But and I really did like that subtle it's not really subtle, but it's not like in your face, the whole social commentary you were talking about.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I guess the episode kind of wraps up with little Katrina revealing that she can talk. She's the only one who can talk.
Yeah. It turns out they have a hole to get out of.
Because sometimes you just need to sneak out and go dancing. I feel you, girl.
I feel you, girl.
That's a great line.
It raises a lot of questions too.
Right. Oh man.
The kids, they grow up so fast, don't they?
Right. Okay, so yeah, Star, let's see, how's the episode conclude? Remind me. Like, Star kind of goes off and, little Katrina is not very optimistic about Star's chances for survival.
Yeah, because she doesn't have a plan. It's like, I'm just going to wing it, basically.
She's going to die.
Yep.
And is that how it ends? Remind me how it ends. I'm sorry, I'm kind of blurry on it.
I mean, that's pretty much how it is. They pretty much ends with her saying, she's going to die.
Okay, I just want to make sure. All right,
and
which
spoilers.
Leads...
Which actually, Katrina's not entirely wrong in a way.
No, you're right. Okay, and that leads us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That leads us to episode 6, King Ludo.
It's mainly just this episode really doesn't do much. It's mainly Ludo's they don't love him, basically. More people don't love Ludo.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this is far and away my least favorite of the 7. I think this is the only dud of the 7 episodes. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I feel like a lot of this stuff could have just, they could have combined Marco and the King with this episode, and they probably wouldn't have lost a whole hell of a lot, because both episodes kind of feel a little padded out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know.
I like some instances of this episode. The whole mask thing was kind of unnecessary, like the whole street vendor.
Right.
They carried on for a good 45 seconds when it wasn't even needed at all. other than to show they prefer, even after all that, they prefer the King River over Ludo.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. Said yeah, we like relay. It could have been solved by a simple line. Yeah, we like him better.
Okay.
But one thing that can be said is I really like it shows does highlight Ludo's insecurities, and I do like the whole introduction of I do like some of the where they're trying to steal and trying to get out and all that. It is pretty interesting. Some of it is.
Yeah, I guess in terms of the side characters, Rebarian is fine. We've met him before. I don't really like Full Duke all that much. And I think Mime Girl is probably the funniest out of the 3.
As I say, she's a genius.
Just because of that running gag, just she doesn't even have to do anything. And it's just well, she's an autistic genius. God.
You're all buffoons, except the mime. She's a genius.
Then the mime just gives a little shy flutter. So that's fun. Yep. And then, of course, the scene with River getting levitadoed is pretty damn dramatic, I must say.
Yeah, that does save the episode a little bit. It just it definitely raises the stakes for the next episode. It's oh crap, we don't know if we don't even know if he's able to survive that.
And of course, I do love how they do write him back into the story at the end of this arc. It's very clever, but yeah, for the time being, it's funny. It's funny, Jacob. This takes a lot of risks because it's they seemingly kill off Glossaric. They seemingly we have no idea what happens to River, and even Star gets a little bit of a of an implied death. It's like they're really going like full on Lion King with this thing in terms of like the darkness of it.
Yeah, it's like I told you off air once. Remember those good old days when this show was just about a wacky girl from a magical girl from another dimension just trying to fit in on Earth?
Right.
Where's that show gone?
Well, Jacob, I believe that answer is the show has turned into this.
Oh hell! Oh heck yeah! Is it better? Probably.
Yeah. So of course, season 3, episode 7, Toffee. Great finale, great conclusion. Of course, we get the wrap up to the Toffee possessing Ludo plotline. We get the brutal transformation, right, where Toffee's body kind of like just eats up Ludo's body from the inside out almost. That's the best way I can explain it.
It's like straight up body horror. Like, how'd they get away with even showing? That's like almost like straight up disgusting. I was almost like oh god.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
I mean, like, he did, and for the looks of things, he didn't just possess Ludo. Like, he possessed all the magic in the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how it looks. I mean, like, he's like that green goop is magic. Like, he possessed all of the magic in them. That's why everything was going on the fritz.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Of course, that's one of the things we forgot to mention in episode 1 is the Fritz thing, which gets paid off here for sure.
Like he was the true cause of that, which was kind of implied from very early.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Marco and Star. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Like, it was implied that he was the cause from the very beginning. Like, well, we kind of theorized that he was the cause.
Right.
But it's like he, not just Ludo, but magic itself.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta say that's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Of course, Marco and Star definitely get sort of they get a good reunion after 6 episodes apart. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I like the bit with the horns poking Marco. Take them off.
Yeah, that's
very sweet. But then, of course, the episode like ratchets up to like late era Harry Potter levels of dramatic very quickly with Toffee and Star going at it. And yeah, like I said, at first it doesn't look like Star's gonna make it. Like, she's trapped in that weird. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's like, what is it? It's like, does she, like, I think she like performs the whispering spell again because she realized that's how Toffee got in there in the first place.
Right.
So she does that. So she does that to assert herself to try and find out. Like, well, as you can evidence by the picture, she finds him.
Yeah.
which I must say is like, I don't know if this is more or less disturbing than the whole, like, the death scene later and him forming around Ludo. I mean, this is pretty creepy in itself.
Well, I to be fair, I think him forming around Ludo is the most disturbing thing in the episode, but you're right, this is pretty damn creepy in its own right.
I mean, that's more like body horror disturbing. This is more like, it's more like creepy disturbing in a way.
Well, to me, body horror disturbing is kind of like the worst kind of disturbing. That's just a personal thing with me, but anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I do see your point, right? But like, he's able to escape through this. They're making a deal with Moon and all that, leaving Star to be trapped in all the tainted magic.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, it's definitely implied that she actually does drown, looking for the last bit of pure magic.
Yeah, and then the scene that really got to me is where Marco kind of goes to comfort Moon, like Buff Frog's like, the queen needs you, Marco, and so Moon is, she's trying to repair the wand, and she's just like, like, it looks like a very hopeless endeavor, you know what I mean? She's like putting the pieces back in place.
And it even calls it back, like, when, like, Toffee, like, closed crushed the remaining star piece, and then Moon desperately tried to do the spell again to no avail.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say Marco's able to punch through his chest.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but that scene that scene is like very dramatic, as you pointed out. It's very ambiguous. I mean, we knew Star's gonna survive, of course, but
Of
still.
course, yeah.
I mean, it's like a contrived. It's like kind of contrived sadness. Like she's gonna survive because season 3 and all that, and
I mean,
4.
this isn't something like Gotham, where Dragon and I have had this running theory in Gotham, where what if they killed Bruce Wayne and then Alfred in retaliation became Batman? Like, Gotham is just nuts enough of a show to pull something like that. Star, not so much. Anyways.
Yeah. But yeah,
so,
it's still very dramatic.
Yeah.
But then after the Star supposedly drowning, Glossric, it sounds like Glossric making his soup again. The return of the soup.
God. And I like how we call back the dip down thing as well.
Yeah, from like the very first episode of season 2.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, there's 2 things that guy loves: soup and pudding.
Pudding. Well, mostly pudding.
Yes, mostly pudding.
Mostly pudding. Anyways.
Mostly.
Okay.
But it's well, yeah, definitely implied that they both actually did die, if only temporarily.
Yeah, that's why I bring up the Harry Potter thing, because Harry Potter also temporarily dies at the end of Deathly Hallows. Spoiler alert. And also Snape kills Dumbledore. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. That's in book 6, but yes.
Yeah, I know. It's just Snape kills Dumbledore is probably the most famous Harry Potter spoiler. Anyways.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the Bruce Willis is dead of Harry Potter.
Or it was Earth all along.
Right, yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
We get to this little scene where it's like, basically, like, it's like, going back to the whole soup metaphor from the first episode of season 2. It's like, no, it was like Star, they're very, Star gets, obviously very concerned about everything, because, she's, worried that she's dead, and, worried about Marco, her mom, and everybody. But then she just kind of notices the magic inside the soup.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to, it's like, you're trying to trick me. He's like, no, I'm not a skimmer. I'm a dipper. Which leads to some actually pretty
down.
Which the following scene is kind of disturbing in a way, kind of horrific. It's like, she puts her hand in a boiling soup.
Right.
I mean, they made it actually look very painful.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have, turned down the fire a bit, Glossric. But it all works out in the end. You go ahead, explain.
Yeah, on the other side, we see this kind of Dragon Ball Z Sailor Moon-esque transformation of her, sort of it's almost kind of like a level up from her puberty form. Yeah,
I mean, that's it's ripped straight out of Sailor Moon.
Yeah, for sure. And
which surprisingly catches Toffee off guard.
Yeah, and we pretty much get the defeat of Toffee, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way he gets eviscerated by her blast, it's like, jeez.
Yeah.
and then it turns out that didn't even kill him.
Right.
We see him crawling back, talking about, I'm the only one who knows how things play, how things turn out. And you see bones hanging out of the gooey body.
Yeah, like we've been saying, this episode doesn't shy away from disturbing imagery at all. This is a pretty intense episode.
I said, I was honestly surprised by this. I mean, recently Disney's been really doesn't usually they used to shy away from that kind of disturbing imagery. I've
made this comparison before, but I think Gravity Falls kind of opened the floodgates.
Well, but I think they saw some stuff even before that, but probably most likely. But I was even in in the TV shows, they really didn't. Even in the recent movies, they really don't show that kind of disturbing imagery.
Well, definitely not in their recent movies, especially like Disney proper. I've noticed that, like Disney proper movies, it's like, they can be subversive in their humor, but not really in their imagery all that much. But I think Disney XD being kind of aimed more at teenagers, I think gives it kind of the advantage anyways, you know what I mean? Because with that, we can get stuff like Gravity Falls and we can get stuff like Star where, Star kind of gets very like DBZ inspired with the violence and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like I think actually moving into Disney XD and the long run actually was a good idea.
You know what, Jacob? Like all these stupid like tween sitcom shows, they can have Disney Channel for all I care. Like Disney XD is like the true Disney Channel for me. You know what I mean? It's like Disney Channel is dead.
Like I said, probably moving it there was actually a good idea.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
It's aimed at it's actually aimed at a more mature audience.
Right. So
that's funny. Like the whole evisceration ray from her puberty form, that wasn't even enough to kill Toffee. But what killed him in the end was like after Ludo's like asking him talking to him like, did I have any part in this? No.
That is like one of the most evil things that Ludo ever does in my money is just, I don't know, maybe not evil in kind of like the traditional sense, but it's just evil on a very personal level. You know what I mean?
It's like it was all me.
And he just says that because he knows he just knows how much that's gonna crush Ludo, and he just says it just to rub the salt in the wound.
It's just one word, no.
Yep. All right.
But like I said, but that pretty much came back to bite him because it was actually Ludo that ended up killing him in the end.
Right, which was great.
It's like, turns out you're dead.
And of course, that kind of makes the whole thing sort of come around full circle where Ludo, it's funny, like Ludo was kind of like the joke villain in season 1. And then he became like more of a legit threat in season 2. And now he kind of came around to being sort of like a sympathetic anti-hero by the end of this arc.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like he gets a lot of character development, almost more so than some of the main characters.
I would say Ludo is probably like the most developed character at this point.
Well, I mean, considering how he started out, it kind of had to.
Right. I mean, yeah, considering he started, like, I mean, I'd say at least through like season 2, he's been the most developed character. I mean, he had like by far the most comprehensive story arc of season 2. I think the biggest transformation.
Well, yeah, like I said, considering he was basically borderline joke villain in season 1.
Yeah, right. And you and I were, we were both not really big fans of season 1 Ludo, but they've definitely made up for it.
I mean, I didn't really mind him. I mean, I didn't really mind him. I kind of liked him in that season, but it's just like, okay, he's just there, like, basically as an obstacle for Star.
Yeah, like I said, that's what it felt like. Whereas with season 2, they definitely gave him his own personality, and the writing really, they really just chewed into that. So speaking of Ludo, let's just address really quick, kind of like, let's wrap this up. Like Ludo gets thrown back into the void at his own request this time.
Yep, and like so he can find himself again, like he did Ludo in the wild.
He says goodbye to the spider, and the eagle says he has commitment issues.
Yeah, like he's trouble with intimacy. It's like,
oh god,
he basically telling them to move on. Yeah, like, but what's sweet on Star's part is like she actually does like throw in a bag of chips after him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like here on me.
And then, of course, the episode ends with River flying down from the heavens, having his own ballad. Which
is a callback to the beginning of the episode, singing for Ludo.
I was a king to these people.
like he became like the Eagles made him their king too.
Basically, the Lord of the Rings Eagles. That's kind of how I read it as, at least.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, and then, of course, what is the cliffhanger, Jacob? What do we see at the very end?
We see those dark veins coming from Queen Moon, so she's obviously worried about the deal she made with Eclipse earlier, which means like once Toffee was defeated, that she would become free.
Mm-hmm.
she goes to seeing these dark veins and realizing that she goes to check on Eclipsa. But she sees her still encased in her crystal and walks away very relieved. And then the crystal cracks.
Oh yeah. One villain defeated, one villain emerges. In true Dragon Ball Z fashion, right, Jacob?
Next time on Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Yep. Okay, final thoughts then, Jacob, on just the battle for Mewni as a whole?
I mean, like, it definitely lived up to its hype. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, in my opinion, at least. Majority of it did, at least.
Yeah, like I said, I think the one episode I didn't really care all that much for was King Ludo, just because it kind of felt like it was sort of just, just kind of muddling, just spinning the wheels a little bit without really going anywhere. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it definitely like wrapped up the Toffee arc in a satisfying way, and I'm not necessarily pissed that he's dead or anything, because I think they got just as much out of him as they probably could, and I think it's good that they built on the Eclipsa stuff at the same time in this episode.
They definitely gave him a fitting conclusion.
Yeah, especially with Ludo being the one to finish him off. I thought that was just like a really satisfying story beat to end on. Yeah. So yeah, just overall, I like the flavor of these episodes. I like the fact that they're all very varied and feel different. Like I said, the one exception being the 2 episodes with Marco and the King could have been combined into one episode. But other than that, the other episodes with Star are all really solid. And of course, the Moon the Undaunted being the best of the bunch, I think. Go ahead, Jacob. I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, I do have to agree with all that. I mean, these episodes, like as a whole, really did deliver. It's just kind of it is gonna feel weird to see Toffee gone so early in the season, but I guess it doesn't necessarily mean he's gone, because there could always be like some way to bring him back.
I'm sure, yeah, at some point, but I think we're gonna focus on Eclipsa before we focus on bringing him back again.
I mean, they have Michael C. Hall. I mean, they're probably not going to waste him.
Right.
I mean, and also, I really like the new ending theme as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, actually. Yeah. Oh, she is a shining star.
I mean, apparently the reason why they went with the way they decided to go with the new ending theme is like to accomplish 2 things, like to make it more, instead of like being so happy and cheerful, to make it more of a neutral theme.
Right.
And to make it more sense, sound more like an anime theme song.
And also because it's going to be taking place a lot less on Earth, and of course the ending ditty from seasons 1 and 2 is like, I think Earth is a pretty great place.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. I think that'll about do it, Jacob. Thank you guys so much for the patience as we go through all these. Of course, Dragon and I had a metric ton of Marvel Netflix stuff to get through in the wake of Defenders. Christmas in July. Yes, that was also a factor. So, and just I think the biggest factor, Jacob, is that you and we tried to schedule this like 2 or 3 different times, but at different points, like we just didn't have the time to like sit down and watch, like rewatch all the arc all at once. But we did it. We cracked it out, and I think it was a very good conversation. So yay for us. All right.
And yay for the crew, the crew of Star versus the Forces of Evil.
For sure. And I guess coming up on Tiki's Universe, folks, we're definitely going to be sort of having a focus on Tiki's Universe. As I said, we'll be talking about Rick and Morty every week. The first 5 episodes of Welcome to the Wayne are out, and we definitely want to get some Nickelodeon representation on here. And some other stuff along the way. We'll see what happens with Steven Universe. That show's kind of in, hiatus hell right now, but we'll see when that comes out. Of course, Stuffed Tales comes back in September. Star comes back in November. Big Hero 6 we'll be talking about when that comes out. So lots of stuff on the table. All right. In the meantime, I call the darkness unto me from deepest depths of earth and sea, from ancient evils unawoken. Break the one that can't be broken. To blackest night I pledge my soul and crush my heart to burning coal, to summon forth a deathly power, to see my hated foe devoured.